Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live around the world and in the United States. This is the Diana Wright Show live online. And once again, we welcome you and thank you for joining the show. We're going to start from a different circle this morning and start with Did You Know? Because I thought this story was fascinating to me. Did you know that the chance of giving birth to two sets of identical twins is about 1 in 70 million? Well now, a Texas mother had a Valentine's Day surprise in 2013. She gave birth to two sets of identical twin boys. Now, the 4 boys were delivered at 31 weeks to Teresa Montalvo, and she was only 36 years old. And delivery was done by C-section, cesarean section, and she did not use fertility drugs. That's the part that is indeed incredible to me. She used no fertility drugs. They said she and her husband said it was a planned pregnancy. They just wanted to have some more children running around the house and giving company to the other kids they already had. And this was done at the Women's Hospital of Texas. Now, I find that quite incredible to know that someone who was not taking any because at first when I saw the story, I thought, okay, which fertility doctor gets the prize for this one on Valentine's Day? No doubt. But no fertility drugs were involved. Simply planning to be pregnant with your husband again, but I guess their planning just exceeded their expectation. All right. So, and they were delivered on Valentine's Day. Believe it or not, I think they will never, ever, ever forget this. So as I speak about Valentine's Day, I will remind you of the National I Love Me Day declared on this show. So come April 30th, we're not going to think about Valentine's Day that day. We're just going to think about the day that you decide to look in the mirror and confirm and be sure and be positive that I love me. Because I do promise you that if you can repeat that every single day to yourself, no matter what struggles you're going through, no matter how deep the depression, you will be able to pull yourself by your bootstraps and get up and get from the blue and into the green. So that's what we're going to keep in mind. National I Love Me Day on April 30th is just the day. But we want you to continue every single day to tell yourself, if you forgot to do it in the mirror this morning, now take your cell phone and do it right now. Okay? It's okay. And if you have a little mirror somewhere in your pocketbook, you can do it. And men, don't be afraid to do it too, because men should not be left out of the I love me process. The only difference is the female t-shirt will say I love me on my web store, and the male t-shirt will be saying love me. All right? So we want to teach our daughters and our sons the same message. I love me, loving themselves. The most important thing, the most powerful thing, the easiest 3 little words to remember. I love me. And for the guys, it's even simpler. Love me. What's so difficult about that? Just consider what and how you'll feel when you say those words to yourself every single day and do not allow anyone to steal your joy. I learned a very important message yesterday from my pastor friend who simply just said, worry about nothing. No matter how serious it is, no matter how big it is, no matter how you feel it is important at that particular time. When he was ill and in his hospital bed and part of his body was being taken out to save his life, he reflected and understood what it simply means not to worry about anything. Be patient. Ignore things. Be thankful. Be joyful. Allow no one to steal your joy. So wherever you are right now this morning, I ask you, what hole are you in? How deep is your depression? But how can we encourage you today that there is a light at the end of that huge tunnel? And the only one who is in charge of all of us, who can make everything happen for us, is Jesus. Or if you say God and his son Jesus. Because with him, all things are possible. So, we encourage you this morning out of that blue zone and into the green. And we encourage you to heed the words of my friend and pastor. To not worry about anything. And I will add to that, just learn to forgive. Forgive those who have hurt you, who have caused you pain, and never allow them to do that again. Because once you find your groove of loving yourself, and you find your groove of knowing who you are and being who you are without trying to copy anyone else, or be someone else, or trying to be someone else, then you will certainly find that groove of joy, peace, love, happiness, abundant health, and abundant wealth. Because actually, when you love yourself, those fluids that flow when you fall in love with someone else actually falls within you the same way. So let's take time out to do that for ourselves today as we continue with the show. And I just thought that young lady, Teresa, needed to be talked about today. At 36, giving birth to 2 sets of identical twin boys. What a miracle that is. Wow, no fertility drugs involved in that. But then again, as we speak to you, we remind you that if you would like to be part of the show, join the conversation, you can give us a call at 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. If you miss a show, we upload it to our site and we also upload it to YouTube, so you'll catch that show. But if you can join the conversation live at 10:30, or at 8 p.m., we welcome you to do so. And then again, you can also send us your ideas for conversation and topics on DianaWrightTV@gmail.com. And we move to politics. What do we do without politics? It's such an interesting, combustible, inconclusive, do nothing kind of thing. Because sometimes you do wonder, what do these politicians go to Washington to do? Do they go there to secure their next election and the fundraising gag? Or do they go there to do the job of the people? Are they truly considering us when they decide to run for office? Or is it just something of power? Oh, you know, power is really a wonderful thing. Some people do things for different reasons. It's just like policemen. Do we think of policemen every day and we wonder, why did they decide to become a cop? Or do they just feel power in having a gun and being able to push you and I around? I've actually heard a cop say that. He wanted to become a policeman because he felt a sense of power and trigger happy when he owns his gun and knows that he can fire it legally. Yeah? And he also enjoyed the fact that he could turn on his siren in his car and get through the light when you and I little people have to stop. Yeah. I had that conversation with a friend of mine years ago who is indeed a policeman. He might be retired by now. But that's the thought of some people. Some young people go into being policemen because they figure that's the easy way out, not to go to college. Just like some people want to go into the armed services because they figure they skip college. But do we need to consider what really is our passion? We'll get to that later. So, as we ponder the looming sequestration in Washington, D.C., we wonder if the Republicans are thinking about education, the military, and our travel plans. Because you see, if the sequestration goes through, then all of those things will be affected. And let us not lose sight of the date, March 1st. It's just around the corner. As you turn your head, it will be here. So it's not far away. Are the Republicans planning to do the same thing they did with the fiscal cliff? By just simply sitting back, giving us a show on screen, and then in the background they're wheeling and dealing, and just before the critical moment comes, they pull us back from that cliff so we don't fall and kill all ourselves. Crisis management, is that the way we plan to run this country continuously because we hate Barack Obama? Why are the Republicans so in hate of President Barack Obama? It puzzles me, and it should be puzzling you. Whether you're white, black, brown, immigrant, illegal immigrant, poor, wealthy, middle class, we should be thinking about that. Because that indeed is important for us to know and to come to the realization of. Because if the Republicans are running the country, because of course they have the upper hand in the House of Representatives, is that the way we want them to run our country? Absolutely not. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to get on our telephones. We're going to call. We're going to call. We're going to call. We're going to call. We're going to jam the phones of Washington, D.C., Congress, senators, and including the White House, to let them fight and let them understand that what we want is XYZ. Speak your mind. Do something. Don't just sit back and let it happen. And let your voices not be heard. Your voices can be heard. I don't want to hear anyone saying, oh, I'm just a little person here. I can't do anything. Yes, you can. You have a phone, don't you? And I'm positive it does not cost you any extra to call Washington on your phone 100 times. Just keep redialing. Just put it on the speed dial. Just put it on fast dial, whatever you want to put it on. As long as you know in your heart that you made your contribution, no matter how small it is. Your contribution was made and will be effective. Because if 5 million of us do this right here in the US of A, I promise you that Mr. Boehner and Mr. McConnell and Mr. Cantor will begin to think, and the White House will be called to continue the fight for us, the people who elected them, to go to Washington and do the people's business. So sequestration, which the Republican is trying to convince us it's the right thing to do because this will force the president with all the spending cuts. And what are spending cuts, we ask? They will affect each and every one of us. Whether it's education, the military, or our travel plans around the world or around the country, it will affect us in some small way. Because people will be losing their jobs, yes, and we will be wondering what just took place because we refuse to use our phones and our power of our fingers. So, let's get up, stand up, and do something today before March 1st comes. And I don't want you to wait until the night before either when you panic because you see that the politicians are doing nothing. I want you to start right now. As I speak, you can continue to watch the show and use your fingers to dial the number in Washington. It's easy to find. You can find it on the website. You can find it on your phone. You can find it anywhere. The great thing about the internet, even though it has its perils, is that information is at your fingertips if you want it. All right. So we just move now to immigration. You see, there was a little memo that was leaked over the weekend, and I don't think it was actually leaked. I think it was actually deliberate so that USA Today could have it to publish. Nothing gets accidentally leaked in Washington, in my opinion, anyway. I think things are strategically placed at the right moment, at the right time, at the right place, so it gets to us as the show continues. But I wonder to myself, why are all the Republicans so hopping mad? Senator McCain, Senator Lindsey Graham, who needs to sit in the corner, in my opinion, until he gets his temper in check. And Senator Marco Rubio, the Tea Party senator. Remember now, let's not lose sight of the fact that Senator Marco Rubio is indeed a Tea Party candidate. Let us not forget that, because we seem to be forgetting that, I think. He is hopping mad. And what did he say? Oh, the bill is dead on arrival from the White House, or whatever, he meant by that. Is that a threat, Senator Rubio? Or is it just you're hopping mad because the president, Barack Obama, his White House, just decided to scoop you? Because whatever he's saying about the 8-year road and path and journey to citizenship for those who are here illegal at the moment, or path to residency, let's clarify that, because I do believe it's the path to residency, because the way they're behaving, it seems like they're thinking it's a path to citizenship. But once you become a resident in 8 years, then you are entitled to become a citizen after that. So I'm not quite sure why they're so angry. Aren't they saying the same thing that the president is saying? Or are they just, they're determined that anything the president says, even though they said it before or they'd agreed to it before, it becomes bad news because it was said by President Barack Obama? What is it, Republicans? Please, please, let us know. Be truthful. Be honest. Just give us the scoop. We get it. If you don't like him because he's brown, let us know. If you don't like him because he's black and white, let us know. If you don't like him because you think he was born in Kenya instead of Hawaii, let us know. Be open, be frank. You see, a lot of us beat up on Donald Trump, Sir Donald. But at least he was telling us what he felt. He felt like the president wasn't born here. And he wanted to see how well he did in Harvard because he thought that he got in because of some, conspiracy, I guess. As the people at Fox News likes to talk about conspiracies. Everything is a conspiracy. And Senator McCain and Senator Lindsey Graham, they're both so obsessed with Benghazi. I wish I could just meet them and say, calm down. Listen to my pastor friend. It's not worth it to worry so much about things that are not that important right now. Yes, we acknowledge and we sympathize and we empathize with the families and the people who died in Benghazi. But even the families are telling you to give it up. Stop talking about it. I think it's just increasing their pain as you continue to haggle and use it as a tool over the president's head. I think that the parents who are grieving and the family members and the loved ones who are grieving about the 4 people who lost their lives in Benghazi, they're the ones we should be thinking about. They're the ones that should be talking, and they're not talking. They just want the Republicans to not use it as a political tool to fight against the president. Benghazi is gone. There's absolutely nothing we can do about the people who have died, even though our hearts break for them and their families. But what can we do, Republicans? We can stop reducing the budget for security for our people at the embassies overseas, because that is what will give us results, not what we are trying to do to President Obama. So let's keep that in mind as we move about in Washington, D.C. today, because I'm sure there's someone watching somewhere around the world and in the United States who will say to them, there's a young lady doing a show live online and her name is Diana Wright, and she just wanted to give you some advice from her pastor. Not to worry. It will be well. Okay, so as we leave the scoop and go into something else, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Pope before I get to celebrity focus. I just wanted to kind of be happy for him, because the crowd that came out for his final mass at St. Peter's Square in Rome was incredible. When I looked at that picture, I don't think I saw a space for another human being to stand. Okay? And I'm sure inside the church was full too. Because the Pope is just loved by Catholics. And I think loved and respected by a lot of us who are not Catholic. And who indeed made the Pope so powerful? So as we wait for the 28th of February to come, just around the corner again, we will then be watching and seeing the drama as they go through to choose his successor, another Pope. So we'll just continue to watch that story. And I think that was the last public appearance that we will see of Pope Benedict. I think so. And we wish him well. And we hope that his health will actually improve, because he will be less stressed. He won't have to worry about the entire world of Catholic churches, and the congregation, and what they're doing and what they're not doing. He won't have to worry about the sex scandal of the Catholic Church any longer. At least not in a public way. And he won't have to ponder about birth control and abortion, which seems to be the topics of the Catholic Church from I have ever known myself. It's always about abortion. It's always about birth control and other things. But sex scandals have become the giant in the Catholic Church. So as we await the name of the next Pope, we just continue to wish Pope Benedict the best as he goes into his bliss of retirement. Which leads me to retirement anyway. It was not on my agenda, but I just thought since I brought it up, let me discuss it. Why do we retire anyway? Because it seems to me that when you retire, you go to the senior center, some people do. You will travel, and I don't think you should wait till you retire to travel. You should travel now when you can and you're able to do so, because you never know when you retire what state of health you will be in. So I encourage you not to wait until you retire to travel. Some people say they just want to do what they want to do. Why not do what you want to do right now? Before you retire. Why not start? Why not begin? And some people say, well, they're going to fulfill their dream. Why wait until retirement to fulfill your dream? Why not try to start fulfilling the dream now? Because remember, tomorrow is not promised to any one of us. And as I said yesterday, remember when we die, we all get the same amount of real estate that's on the ground. I don't think it measures any more. Either way, whether we are rich or poor or middle class, whether we are illegal, straight, gay, white, brown, black, it doesn't matter. So why do we seem to fight so much and hate each other so much? Yeah, there's the wealthy people that will have a nice, sepulcher, and they'll have columns and white marble and stuff like that. But the average people like me, just give me a wooden box, line me in some silk. Yeah, I require that, some silk cloth. That's what I require. And a simple headstone will be wonderful. All right? So, don't be afraid of death. But before you retire, make sure you try to do the things that you need to do. Because even though you're thinking that you don't have the money, just if you save towards that goal, even $1 a day sometimes, you will get to the goal you want to. You don't have to go to Paris. You can just go to another state. Widen your horizon. Explore. Let your mind see other things, other people, other cultures, other food, experience it as we continue to grow. So we hope for this morning on this Diana Wright Show live online, we can encourage you to be a better you and the person that you were meant to be, not the person that someone else wants you to be or tells you that you should be. Be the person that you want to be. And that's my encouragement for you this morning. Okay, so First Lady Michelle Obama. Wow. We all wondered about that bang. I don't know. The bang looks great. The bang is great, but I like to see your ears. I don't like the fact that I can't see her ears. That's just me. Because that's my thing about bangs and that kind of bob cut. It hides your ears. Maybe she flick it back a little bit, that part that goes behind the ear, maybe, and I see her ears, I would feel better about it. But I am not feeling the not seeing your ears, my dear First Lady Michelle Obama. Okay? But she says that the reason she did this is because she's now 49 and she is going through what she quotes as her midlife crisis. I think she has a way to go before she gets to that point anyway. But she said, well, I couldn't, go out and buy a sports car and go driving. Of course, we understand that because the Secret Service will be on your tail. Or she could not go bungee jumping because that would definitely not be allowed. So we sympathize with you, First Lady Michelle Obama. And we will continue to support your bangs. But I want to see your ears again, okay? I love to see your full face because I thought it looked great. The bangs are okay, but I prefer to see your ears and your full face. So I don't know how many people agree with me, but maybe there are plenty of people who agree with me. They just don't want to say anything. But we say it in love and from a place of love, not any malice or any hate. All right. So we encourage you to keep your bangs as long as you please. Because if you feel you're going through your midlife crisis and this is the way you express it, congratulations and thank you for loving who you are and who you chose to be. So that's what that is. All right. Okay. We're going to get to a more serious celebrity right now. But before we do that, I just want to wonder, how many of you know that the JFK bomber jacket was sold at auction for $570,000. First we heard $620, but then we heard $570. So I'm not quite sure which one is correct. But either way, wouldn't you like to have a bomber jacket that values that much? I would. Okay. How much would you pay for my jacket that I'm wearing this morning? Just wondered. Just thought I'd throw that out. But on a more serious note now, we go to Oscar Pistorius in South Africa. And as they mourned and buried the wonderful Reva that everyone is speaking so well about, we are saddened to know that her uncle, who was so broken at the funeral, it was a private funeral, no doubt, he just could not compose himself. And he just wanted us to remember Reva and remember what she stood for, violence against women. And wow, we don't know what Oscar's intentions were, but it happened. As he states it, he said that he thought Reva was in bed with him, and he thought he heard a sound. He thought he was shooting at someone in his bathroom. And she died in his arms as he carried her down the stairs. Wow. Now, the judge was not buying that story because he refused to change what the prosecution is stating, that it's premeditated murder. And of course, there's no bail. Still no bail. But as we ponder the story and as we think about Oscar and his broken, destroyed future, if you will, that he lost in a moment, one moment, the first gunshot is that moment when he lost all his glory and all he had worked so hard for as a double amputee from birth, who became the icon, the star that we were all rooting for at the Olympics last year in London. How saddened are we today to hear his side of the story? Is that the real side of the story? Is that the truthful side of the story? I don't know. I don't think you know, because none of us were there. Is it premeditated, as the prosecutor says? Because how could you think that someone is in your bed? Did you not look in the bed before you got up and got the gun? Did you not feel her presence or her not presence in the bed? Because I do know that when I'm sleeping at nights, maybe I'm just a light sleeper, if my husband gets out of the bed, I know. And I will stretch my hand just to make sure. So I wonder why he said the room was pitch dark and, he is paranoid about the violence and the break-ins in South Africa, but doesn't he live in a gated community that is supposedly secure and safe? Why is he so on edge, and why the first thing to reach for your gun? What's our lesson in all of this? Ladies and gentlemen, having a gun in your house, as the survey says and continues to say, will always hurt someone you love before it protects you from the criminal that you're trying to protect yourself from. So that's, to me, the lesson of this story. And also for the women, when you meet someone, or for the men, make sure you know what their habits are. Make sure you know who they are. Because I'm not so sure I would be in a house with someone who loves guns so much and likes to shoot so much at the drop of a sound. And as we encourage our daughters to go out and find their mate or seek their mate, and I don't think they should be seeking or finding them, I think the mate should be finding them. We just ask for you to take some time and think before you act. Because in one moment, our lives can change for hell or happiness, or depression or joy. Which one are we going to choose? Are we going to take the time to think? Because I am positive that if Oscar's story is what he says it is, if he goes back and reflect, he would say to himself, I should have made sure she was in the bed before I started shooting. And as we go through and we find the truth, and we hope we find the truth, we, and I'm sure all the family members of Reva, will continue to mourn her passing and what her suffering must have been. And before he carried her down the stairs, did he think, I've made a mistake, let me call help that can try to save her life? Oh, there's so many twists and turns and questions and deliberations and thought about this story, because I simply think it's incredible. It's a wow moment for each and every one of us as we do things in haste or in fear, because for me, I think he was simply living in fear. The Bible tells us, fear not, for I am with you. So even when you are faced with what you think is fear, you maybe should take a moment and think before you start shooting that gun. So I take you then to a gentleman in Virginia who is doing what I call something crazy. What is he doing? He is offering 15% off to anyone who comes to his pizza store in Virginia with a gun or with a gun permit. Has he gone mad? Or is this just a publicity stunt so that we can all know about his pizza store, and just in case you live in Virginia, you will make sure you go to his store? What is this? What is that? Did he hear about Oscar Pistorius? Did he hear about Sandy Hook? Did he hear about Gabby Gifford? What is this? A publicity stunt? Is my opinion. And that's not the way to get publicity, by trying to use the gun control argument, because it really is an argument right now, because Mr. Wayne LaPierre, head of the NRA, seemed to have his own arguments. The president has his argument. The Democrats, they have their argument. The Republicans, they have another argument, and they are also fearful of the NRA from what we gather. So, where do we go from here, and when do we stop the madness? As we think about the young woman in Chicago who was gunned down a mile from the president's house in Chicago, we ponder and wonder, do we really truly need to be all armed as Mr. Wayne LaPierre is encouraging us to do? No. Because remember, that gun will inevitably kill someone or hurt someone you love. Just think of Oscar when you pick that gun up, or when you go and apply for that permit. And in the light of the gun control thing, lots of teachers are talking about they're going to arm themselves. What if that teacher is crazy? And what if that teacher decides one day that she doesn't like another teacher, or she doesn't like a student, and she decides to shoot? Are we really thinking this through? Or are we just going from crazy to bad emotion to good emotion to what? Because I'm seriously wondering, have we given it thought of having a teacher in a classroom of your kindergarten child especially, or your high school child, or your junior high school child, middle school, whatever we call it, and their teacher is armed? Now, what if that teacher becomes crazy or lose it? What happens then? And if there is an intruder, isn't the teacher going to have that gun in a locked place where the students can't get to it? So when the intruder comes, is she going to be able to go to the locker and get that gun before the intruder comes in? Well, I guess some will argue that yes, she will have time because, maybe the principal can announce it. Here's an intruder on the PA system. I don't think when we're panicking, we have so much time to think about all those things. So we should think about what we do about teachers with guns in the classroom before we actually hooray and say it's a wonderful thing to do? Think. The moment that teacher shoots that gun, it could be your child that gets shot. And yes, there was a young woman in Texas over the weekend, I think, or last week, who reported that she had a gun under her pillow and 2 intruders entered her house. And she was able to shoot, get the gun and shoot. And hooray for her. Yes, they kind of beat her up a little bit to take the gun away. I don't know if they took the gun with them or what. But she felt so proud of herself that she had a gun. But what if it had gone another way? Where in her firing of her gun, one of her kids got shot. We have to explore and think about all the possibilities before we run out and buy a gun. A gun is meant to kill people. A gun is not meant to be in a classroom with teachers who can indeed lose their mind. Yes, some teachers can do that because they're humans. So why are we going to give them something else to worry about? We need to protect our schools properly, get proper security for our schools. Yes, I do agree with that one. But arming our teachers and our principals? I don't know. I do hear of a principal in certain places, that carries a gun in his ankle brace, I'm told. But I don't feel comfortable sending my child to school when her teacher has a gun. How do you feel about that? Or will you wait until the first teacher who has the gun shoots a kid and then we'll all say, oops, we made a mistake? Well, that oops will be too late. Oops is only meant when you go to Home Depot and you oops the paint color that you were going to put on your wall. That's the time you should be saying oops. Not after a teacher who got a gun because of Sandy Hook and because she's listening to, or he's listening to, the NRA head Wayne LaPierre to arm ourselves. This is something that needs great thought and great deliberation. And okay, is the teacher going to have a gun and the principal not have one? Because that principal decided that she don't need a gun? And what, one day the teacher gets mad with the principal and goes for her gun and shoots the principal? We can think of all the scenarios prior to making this happen. I can give you several more just whirling through my head. And I'm sure that now that I'm raising the point, you're thinking too. What scenarios can you come up with? There's going to be some child in that class who is curious and mischievous enough to find a way to get into wherever the teacher has hidden that gun and find it, just like they do at home. There was a case in Jamaica where the dad put his gun down because he came home. He works at a bank and they're required to have that gun. He came home, he picked up the gun. He didn't have time to put it in the case. And his toddler came in the room when he was not looking, took the gun and killed herself. So I can give you lots of scenarios, not hearsays. I know so. Because I don't, profess to give you a lot of hearsays. So let us consider gun control as a serious, serious issue. And before we allow our teachers to arm themselves, let's think of all the scenarios and all the possibilities that she could have or he could have to use that gun without an intruder being present. All right. We are live here on the Diana Wright Show online, and we welcome you once again from around the world and in the United States. And we remind you that we'll be back on this evening at 8, and we're on, of course, at 10:30 every morning. Coming up on Thursday morning, we're going to have a special guest, and he is Pastor Gil Monrose, or Monrose, whichever way you prefer to pronounce it. When he gets here on Thursday, we will have him give you the correct pronunciation of his name. He is from New York, and he's going to join us, and we're going to talk about all various religious issues and whatever ponders your mind. So you can email me your questions for Pastor Gil Monrose, and he will be here with me Thursday morning at 10:30. And so send us your questions, or tweet me or whatever, and give me the thumbs up on Facebook and let me know if you have any questions for Pastor Monrose when he joins us on Thursday morning. And I'm going to take a little moment here to give you some PSAs that I promised to do for some folks. And as we come up upon closing or coming up to the end of the show real fast, we can really raise through these issues. Praise Time Promotions presents Jesus Lives. And of course, my good friend and his group Anointed Voices, Jay and his group Anointed Voices, will be performing there. And of course, Second Chance and lots of other people. A good soldier and friend of mine too, Dr. Michael Douglas. He is the chiropractor and the doctor for the Jamaican Olympic team. And I have known him for a very, very long time. Actually, I was the first person we interviewed him on radio, on WAVS in Florida. So he's going to be part of this whole Praise Time Promotions presents Jesus Lives. All right. So also Hummingbird of Grace, and that's a fundraising concert this Friday. Wow. At 7 p.m. at the Grace Fellowship Church and the address is 8350 Okeechobee Boulevard, and that's of course is in West Palm Beach. And they're featuring other performers and, gate prizes and all that. It's a fundraiser, a good cause for the church. So check them out. Hummingbird of Grace, the fundraising concert at Grace Fellowship Church, 8350 Okeechobee Boulevard, and that's in West Palm Beach. All right. So let's also remind you that the Praise Time Promotions Jesus Lives promotion is March 16th. So you do have a little time to wait for that one. But Jay and his group Anointed Voices and, of course, Second Chance will be there. I'm sure you're familiar with some of those people. If you're not, make yourself familiar by going to the concert and supporting them in their efforts. Celebrity Focus. I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but of course we had some technical difficulties in the evening, so we were not able to present the live 8 p.m. show. But this is the 6th celebrity rehab death. She's the 6th one. And I really didn't know much about her until yesterday. Her name is Mindy McCready, and she died. She's only 37. They're suspecting that she committed suicide. This is another person in the music industry dead, and drugs is involved. Remember Whitney Houston? Remember all of us mourned? I mourned because even though I didn't know her personally, her songs were beautiful. Her voice was golden, in my opinion. But how many of our celebrities are we going to lose because of drugs? And what is it about the music industry that encourages these talented human beings to go into the life of taking drugs? Wow. What is it? What is the problem? Is there anyone able to sort this out? Maybe I'll ask Pastor Gil when he comes on Thursday. Because there has to be something in that industry and the entertainment industry too, not just music, the entire entertainment industry, including the actors and actresses. They always seem to have a problem with drugs. Why is that? Can't you act without taking drugs? Can't you sing without taking drugs? Can't you play the drums or the guitar or whatever without taking drugs? Just let's take a minute and think of all the groups of famous musicians and the things that happen to them because of drugs. When are we going to do something about that? Or when are they going to do something? The music industry and the entertainment industry needs to take that up. Because we're losing too many of our young stars who have great potential, but they're snuffed out because they are coked out. It is just absolutely, or cracked out, whichever one, or alcohol out. What is it about this industry that does this? What is it? I'd like to know. I would like someone to answer that question. Because it is just very, very sad that we can have that happen and no one is doing anything about it, it seems. Yeah, you have, there are some ministers who come out against it sometimes, but it's never really something that's followed up. As you see, I'm changing to give you the phone number so you can write it down and give us a call when you get a chance, or if you have any questions. If you'd also like for me to be a speaker at your event, or you would like to advertise on the program, or sponsor the program, or be a partner of the program, then you can give me a call at 561-228-1921. I am just totally overwhelmed by what happens in the industry. Yes, they're blaming the entertainment industry also for the violence within our young people and the gun shooting. Because the young man involved in the Sandy Hook shooting, they found, violent video games and all those things. And how he was obsessed with some other mass murderer from another country. So, we just, I just want you to give that some thought and wonder, why is this happening? The entertainment industry, the music industry, the celebrity industry, or whatever you want to refer to it as, has just seemed to become a place where people go and get addicted. You have stars like Celine Dion who did not choose to go the Hollywood route, she said. But what is it? Is it a requirement that you are cracked out or coked out in order to perform? That could not be. Are all those talented people only able to show us their talent when they are coked out or cracked out? I refuse to believe that. And the worst part is that a lot of our children, hopefully not mine, use these stars and these celebrities and these sports people as their role model. And you know how I feel about that. I believe that you parents should be the role model of your children. So if you find yourself coked out and cracked out, you might want to give your child to someone in your family who you think will be better able to raise them until you get yourself straight. Because you can get straight and you can come out of that alcohol, cocaine, crack state and be a better person and perform better and do your job better. And if you believe that you can't handle it on your own, there's tons of help out there for you. And of course, there is the mighty one, the almighty one, the supernatural one, Jesus, can get you out of if you're willing to have faith and do the work that's necessary to get out of it. So we encourage you here at the Diana Wright Show Live Online to get out of the blue zone and come into the green. Love yourself because it's important to do so. And my wow moment today. A woman gave some change to a man that was sitting on the sidewalk, a homeless man, a beggar, however we refer to him. And in her giving, she gave in the pan her engagement ring. Now, she says her engagement ring was kind of creating a wedding band itch. I haven't felt that yet because, see, I take my wedding band off when I'm washing my hands or, because I just don't want it to get ruined or anything like that. So she said she took it off and put the engagement ring or both rings in her purse. But when she emptied the change, it so happens that the engagement ring went out with the change in the man's pan. So, sadly for her, they were going out of town that evening. She had her husband turn back to go find the homeless man, and she didn't. So, of course, she went her merry way, not being so merry, but being stressed out about it, only to come back 48 hours later, find the homeless man, and guess what? She tried to jog his memory and tell him about the fact that she was the lady who gave him XYZ and blah, blah, blah. But before she even finished, he said, "You're looking for your ring. I saved it for you. I put it up for you." Isn't that such a wonderful story? I do believe it is. That homeless person had integrity, was a good person at heart. To take that ring, put it in a safe place. And you know where the safe place was? Under the bridge in his coat pocket where he stashed his stuff. And I guess where he sleeps at nights. So when we see homeless people out there, we should not assume that they're all bad people or worthless people. Because we all are guilty of that. And we wonder why. I've wondered why a woman who's pregnant is begging money and saying she's hungry and homeless. And if she's homeless, why did she have sex? You shouldn't be thinking about sex if you're homeless, I believe. So we are all guilty of that. But this story lets me know that not all homeless people. I did know that not all homeless people are bad people because a lot of people are one paycheck or two paychecks away from being homeless. So I'm not really surprised, but I am happy, so happy to share that story with you this day because I think that we need to look differently on homeless people. Because a lot of them are just simply good people. So hence, the young lady and her husband decided to start a fund for this homeless man because she was so impressed with his honesty. Honesty, the best policy. Your grandmother, I'm sure, told you that a million times. So did my mother, and so did my grandmother. And so I tell my daughter. Honesty trumps just about anything else. Right? And we prove that. So he took her, he gave her the ring, and then they decided there must be something we can do for this man. So they started a fund for him, and I think they had like $4,000 within a short time. What a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, joyful story. So, when you see the homeless out there, just be careful though, when you give away the change, make sure you don't have your wedding engagement ring or your wedding ring in that bunch of coin, okay? Because you might not be so lucky. But anyway, we'll enjoy and we'll embrace the luck and the goodness of this story as we go. Yes? So she got the ring back. Imagine that. Wow. And imagine that we're out of time as we move and we leave you until we see you at 8 again. We remind you if you'd like to call us and have me be a speaker at your event, your church, your gathering, so we can talk about the I Love Me date of April 30th, National I Love Me Day, or we can talk about trying to make everyone love themselves. I call it the I Love Me Crusade. That's my crusade, the Diana Wright Show live online crusade. And the April 30th National I Love Me Day is that of the Diana Wright Show. We thank you, and we hope that you will be joining us this evening at 8 when we come back with some more stories, and we try to uplift you out of that depression of the blue and get you into the green so that you can be a better, a happier, a more fulfilled, passionate person. And thank you once again for joining me from around the world and in the United States. I say adios, ciao, and bonsoir, au revoir, au revoir. Yeah, au revoir is correct. All right? Thanks for joining me again, and have a great, great day.